Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Olin Buchanan, this whole spring forward thing,
Yeah?
not my friend so far.
Why's that?
Just not enjoying it. I feel like it should be 7 o'clock right now, and I should just be getting out of bed.
Okay.
I'm slowly adapting to the time change.
I like it because I like having light later in the day.
Sure.
However,
Well, I'm already thinking about tomorrow night when we're at the ballpark, and it's going to be much lighter later into the ball game. That'll be nice. But
I don't like the idea of some places having to walk to school in the dark.
it's scary.
I don't like
was
that.
driving down 40 on the way here, and there was a kid on a scooter. All I saw was the light,
Right.
and he's going against traffic. It's like, it was right near your neighborhood,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about somebody else who drives and is on his phone all the time.
Hey, fortunately, he's never up
nearly
that. Fortunately, he's never up that early.
Fair. He might not even know about the time change.
but-
All I'm saying is I'm much more of a fan of falling back for my sleep pattern.
And springing forward.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Other than that, really, really nice weekend, Olin. Really nice week in general, right? The team I cover, they go 4-0. The team you cover goes 2-0. So let's go ahead and dive in right here on a Monday morning TexAgs Live brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're springing forward. It's spring break, so David Nuno's not here. I'm Richard Zane inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. This is the Go Hour presented by who?
The go hours. See,
Yeah, I threw you off.
yeah, you did.
There you go.
Is it the warehouse of CC Creations?
Now we're at the main desk, but the Cool Center, the Cool Zone,
The
presented by
Holistic Planning
who?
Cool Zone?
Yes, it travels.
That travels.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. So, you know what was cool was 3 overtimes on Saturday night. Have you recovered from that?
Well, yeah, I recovered from it, but man, it was frustrating.
Frustrating. Okay, I want to hear about your frustrations. Olin Buchanan discussing Texas A&M's 94-91 victory over LSU on Saturday evening in Baton Rouge. The Aggies get their 11th conference win. We believe they're a lock for the NCAA Tournament. Joe Lunardi has moved them off their last 4 byes, so they're squarely in the field of 64, not 68, which means you might get to avoid a trip to iconic Dayton, Ohio. Olin, where do your frustrations begin with the victory? Because in the end, all's well that ends well.
Yes,
you
that's
leave
true.
the PMAC with a win.
Yeah, that's really all that matters. But when you play so well against Kentucky, you know, you're thinking, okay, is this going to be a launching pad? We're going to start seeing them play their best basketball at the right time. And then, quite frankly, I'm glad they won, but is anybody going to say they played well?
I don't think you have.
Bucky McMillan has even said in his previous press conference, he said, we are a 3-point shooting team. We have to shoot 3-pointers. And they eventually made 10, which typically they need to hit in double figures on 3-pointers to win, and they did. But they had to get in 3 overtimes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they started so slow, and you know what? They never led by more than 3 points.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of game. You're thinking, I know you're better than LSU. I know LSU's basketball team is better than the record shows. You can ask Kentucky that. You can ask Texas. You can ask some other teams. I mean, some teams they beat, they've had some close games. But and they're at home, and it's the last game, so all those things. But I really thought that Kentucky game maybe unleashed something, and then they were unleashed again.
So they were 10 of 33 from three-point range. That's 30.3%. You listen to the basketball bard, Luke Evangelist. You want to make double-digit threes and shoot over 40 from behind the arc. They got to double digits. They obviously didn't shoot 40. You talk about launching pad. You watched Kentucky. Rylan Griffin equaled a career high with 21 points against the Wildcats. On Saturday, he sets a new career high with 24. He hit half of those three-pointers. He goes 5 for 8 from deep, but then it's your normal, your most reliable guy, a guy who might win all SEC acclaim later today when the conference awards are announced. Rashawn Agee.
If he doesn't,
26 points.
It's a crime.
He played 47 minutes, OB.
Yeah.
47 minutes. That is insane.
They needed him for every one. And, another thing that was frustrating is how many times were they in a position to just finally just lock it down and miss a free throw?
I believe they had the ball last in regulation. I believe they had the ball last in the first overtime. I know they had the ball last in the second overtime.
Regulation, no, they didn't have it last because LSU was shooting a three-pointer from the corner to win it.
Okay.
And it almost went down, I believe, if I remember correctly. But then, the last one. But I can remember, and look, Pop Isaacs played really well. Gave you 18 points, I think it was. Yes. But he only made 1 of 6 from 3. Usually he's better than that. But, I think it was Pop. If it wasn't Pop, apologies to Pop, because it may not have been. But anyway, somebody was at the free throw line and had a chance to give A&M, I can't remember which overtime period it was. And anyway, missed 1 of 2. And they're always missing one. When you're right there to get that 4-point lead, make it a 2-possession game late where
Yeah. Well,
so it was that kind of frustrating game is what I'm saying.
Even when you're up 3, you're up 3 in the final overtime, or you're up 2, and Ali Diba goes to the line. He goes 1 of 2 at the line. And then, of course, it's McKinnon. He's got a chance to tie the game at the buzzer. And it obviously didn't go in.
It was Ali.
That was the last OT.
Yeah, that was last. But there was another time. It's Rylan. 21 seconds. You're up 84, 83. And he makes the first and misses the second. So that wouldn't have ended it. But then you had to sweat some things out a little bit. And but bottom line is they won the game. Now, I'll ask you, Richard, and Cooper over there. Cooper's a basketball player, and he's the Papa Shot champion of TexAgs, right?
For now.
So, do you find encouragement or frustration in winning despite not playing particularly well? Does that make you say, hey, look how good these guys are? I've heard the definition of a good team is when you win despite not playing your best basketball or even playing well below your standard. Or does that make you go, oh gosh, I'm going to be feeling a little bit, I don't want to say unconfident, but a little bit wary going into postseason. So what is it?
My answer to that question, OB, is what is March all about?
Surviving
and advance. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if you play at your best, as long as at the end of 40 minutes, or in this case, 55 minutes, you have more points than the opponent, because that means you are moving on. And that's all that matters right now. That is all that matters. Survive and advance.
Well, I understand
Obviously,
that. That's not the question.
It is much easier to win when you play well.
It's easy to feel that way after the game and you've already won. That's not what I'm saying. Going into postseason, does the fact that they survived and advanced against LSU in the manner in which they did, does that make you feel better about this team? Or was it that they didn't follow up the Kentucky game with a similar performance? Does that make you a little insecure about this team?
I don't think I'm any more insecure about this basketball team than I was before the game. Because their flaws are their flaws, right? They're not going to magically grow 4 inches overnight and have the height to compete with teams. We know what their issues are. We know what their issues are.
I know, but once again, Bucky McMillan said we acknowledged it, and we all know it, but he acknowledged we're a 3-point shooting team. They didn't shoot Cooper. Papa shot Cooper.
I kind of agree with Richard in that.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't make
you don't
me.
You feel just.
It definitely doesn't make me encouraged because LSU is an inferior basketball team to us. They're better than the record says that we should beat them and fairly well. And it's like he said, like this is the same team we've been seeing. We gave LSU every chance they could to get. I mean, once we came back and took it back from them, we started slow. We took it back from them. Then we just continued to give them chance after chance to stay in the game, and they didn't take it from you. Whereas I think in March, somebody good is going to take it from you.
Exactly. So do you feel better about what you saw or worse?
I don't feel better because I think other teams are going to take it from us, and it doesn't. I wouldn't say worse or better. It just
you started off saying like you kind of agreed with Richard, and then you made your point, and it was completely against.
How's that different from Richard's point?
I'd say, but when somebody says they can take it from you, that's most likely going to happen. Another team is going to take advantage of Texas A&M's weaknesses. But at the same time, there's no reason why Texas A&M can't go out and start hitting those threes like we've seen them before, right?
Right.
So that's just who they are. They're a high variance team, to use a Bucky McMillan term. They're going to continue to be a high variance team until their season's over. I'm
going to say it this way: the team that beat Kentucky can make a nice run through the NCAA tournament. The team that beat LSU, very likely 1 and out.
I think if we go down big again, like we did at Kentucky, there's very few teams we could bring it back in March, especially deeper in March. But
do y'all agree with my assessment that the team that beat Kentucky can have a nice run through the tournament, maybe even, if crazy enough, get to the second weekend, and that the team that beat LSU is very possibly a one and done? Do y'all agree with that?
I totally agree.
But what you saw at LSU doesn't alarm you?
It doesn't change how I already felt about the team.
No,
it's more of the same that I've seen.
They were very likely to be a one and done anyway.
Not if they play like they did against Kentucky.
Yes.
Who knows what we're going to get is my thought.
Yeah, they're like the Forrest Gump chocolate.
They're very much like a Forrest Gump team. Right. You don't know what you're going to get. Anyways, you've already heard from Cooper Patterson. He's over at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Yes, he does currently hold the record. Yes, he beat me most recently in our last tournament. Not too many willing opponents for Cooper this week because everybody's out on spring break, although I'm sure Coop and I will get some shots up. That is after he's done checking the Catalyst Pure Performance Energy text line throughout the day. Make sure you send him your text. We're going to check in throughout the show. 979-693-1150 if you want to interact with TexAgs Live. With that, let's go through the glass and say howdy to Nick Savage, who called a doubleheader Texas A&M baseball on Friday.
You know, Nick is really good at that.
He's really good
Nick,
at
you're good at that. I wouldn't tell you. If you sucked, I would say, man, he kind of sucks. But no, you do a good job on that.
Thank you, Ob. I appreciate it. I'm glad you listened and stayed through the entire 18 innings.
No, I didn't say I did that.
Yeah, I was convinced we were going to get 14 innings of baseball. But credit to Oakland. Some of those pitchers they trotted out there were kind of sneaky good. But good weekend overall for Aggie baseball. But I'm going to talk about Aggie basketball real quick, just because I'm kind of with you, Ob. That game frustrated the heck out of me watching it. And the biggest thing that had me scratching my head was the turnovers. It seemed like every time A&M would turn over LSU, they couldn't convert on the other end, or it just seemed like they gave it right back, and that's why it just felt like A&M could never quite pull away. But thank goodness it took them 3 overtimes, but a big Ruben Dominguez 3 put them away, and I feel really good about the tournament chances now, as do all of us, I think.
So with the win, and to Nick's point, they seem like a lock for the NCAA tournament.
I can't imagine they're not.
Yeah, at 11-7 in the league, they have 6 wins versus Quadrant 1 opponents. The most important thing for them when you start comparing other teams on the bubble, 0 bad losses, 11-0 versus Quadrants 3 and 4. That's not something you can often say around College Station, especially with the last head coach we had. Per Joe Lenardi, A&M is clear of the last 4 byes, which means you are a number 10 seed pushing to be a number 9 seed. Being a 10 seed would allow you to avoid the iconic Dayton, Ohio. You finished tied for 4th in the SEC standings. By tiebreakers, they're going to be the number 6 seed in Nashville, which means they're going to play on Thursday night against the winner of Oklahoma or South Carolina. Olin, tip-off is 8:30 p.m.
Which means it'll be closer to 9.
Sure, because it's the 4th game of 4 on that day. And then if the Aggies were to win on Thursday, they would face Arkansas on Friday. Olin, your initial thoughts about the draw in Nashville?
My thought is just, I think you're in the tournament no matter what. But, you go up there, get at least a win.
Mm-hmm.
And you've beaten Oklahoma twice. They're playing good basketball. I think you're the last team to beat Oklahoma. I think they've won 4 in a row after losing to A&M. And you've beaten South Carolina. So you're going to be well rested and all those things. So I would expect you to go out and win a game there. And then, hey, see what happens against Arkansas. Because what were they with 10 minutes to go within 4 or 5 against Arkansas in Fayetteville where A&M typically doesn't win? So maybe move it to Nashville and you'll hit a couple of those threes and that you didn't make, even though they had a nice 3-point shooting game that day. And, maybe you pull off what would be an upset. But I would hope they at least get a win. And I would like their chances, especially if they played like they did against Kentucky.
But not if they played the way they
did.
But
not if they played like they did against LSU.
So against Oklahoma, A&M 2-0 on the year. Against South Carolina, they drubbed them back on January 24th, 92-69. That was the game Zach Clemens had 7 3-pointers, finished with 21 points. And then against Oklahoma, the key was slowing down Nigel Pack. They did that in the second game, held him to just 6 points, and escaped Norman with a 4-point victory.
Yeah. I think A&M is so much deeper than Oklahoma and the way they play and push them and things like that it really helps them against OU. Didn't OU have some problems shooting threes in that game? Or am I thinking of somebody else that maybe they looked tired? Maybe that was the first game. But anyway, I do, and I kind of expect Oklahoma to beat South Carolina. So I'm kind of guessing that they'll be playing Oklahoma on Thursday night.
So obviously a win helps Texas A&M's tournament resume even further. But a 12th conference win would take away all doubt. But also, a win would allow you to stay in Nashville a little bit longer, make it worth your while, right?
Well, I would like for it to make it worth TexAgs' while, right? I can remember, that one year, Logan Lee and I went up there basically to have a nice dinner at a place called Stony River in Franklin because we got there, have dinner, and then they canceled the tournament. So I still feel bad about that. And a couple of times I've been up there. One time in St. Louis, and A&M lost at the buzzer to a long shot by Alabama, and so it was up there and back. Another time up there and back to Nashville, and I just feel like, I feel like the company, if they're going to pay what it costs to get us up there, you'd like to, again, make it worth their while. Of course, it'll always be a bargain. The greatest bargain was the year in Tampa. Was that about 5 years ago when they went to the final? I didn't bring enough clothes because I didn't think they would make it, and then they went to the final and still didn't get into the tournament.
That was crazy.
I really don't, unless you win it, I really don't know what it matters, what the tournament matters to the NCAA.
Well, we'll see what it matters.
Because I remember one year they played Kentucky for the championship in a great game. I think they lost that one in overtime, but it was a great game. It was the same year that they tied Kentucky.
It would have been 2016.
And Kentucky still, they were both 3 seeds, I think, or maybe Kentucky was a 4 seed, but even though they had beaten A&M, or A&M was the, quote, higher 3 seed. But I remember Calipari was pissed off about that. And I think I could understand. But anyway, I just don't know how much the tournament really helps you or hurts you unless you win it.
Especially when you know you're going to be playing in the bigger tournament here in about a week and a half, right?
Right.
That's awesome. We're off and running here on a Monday morning on TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm Richard Zane. Plenty more to come as the Go Hour rolls along. Don't go anywhere. You are listening to TexAgs Live.
I wish I had Olin here for it because he loves energy drinks. Catalyst Citrus Spark. This is one of the new flavors out there. Whether you're grinding through workouts, cramming for a test, or closing in on a deal, or getting ready for TexAgs Live, you never know, right? Fast becoming the go-to fuel for Aggies everywhere. Zero sugar. I'm all in for that. Or synthetic sweeteners, no artificial colors or flavors. Catalyst delivers clean, high-performance energy with smooth, crisp taste that is never syrupy, designed for both health and hustle. You want to get going, you use this Catalyst right here. It's about pure energy and pure results. And what sets them apart? Packed with premium nootropics blended to boost focus, clarity, and mental stamina. I need this. I'm in, guys. I'm in. Plus, with plant-based caffeine, vitamin B12, B6, Catalyst supports metabolism and energy production, making it more than a drink. It's your lifestyle training partner. Built for competitors on the field, Catalyst fuels strength, focus, and pure results. Buy now at drinkcatalyst.com. That is drinkcatalyst.com. Train harder, think sharper, pure results. It's Catalyst.
Olin, do you have a favorite Brooks and Dunn song?
Oh gosh, a favorite one. I like Lost and Found in a Border Town. Kix actually sings that one.
Yeah.
And there's a tearjerker, you know, Believe.
Yeah.
Ronnie, that's a good one. Gosh. right off the top of my head. You know, there's so many good ones.
What about Travis Tritt? Do you have a favorite Travis Tritt song?
Here's a quarter called Someone Who Cares.
Yeah, because the hair's insane.
That's
it's amazing.
Isn't that it really? Because that's just a Brauninger thing.
Yeah, of course.
Saying that
he's a big guy. Welcome back in TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. A gem of a guy, right, Obi? That's
a gem of a
guy. This is the Go Hour, brought to you by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Olin Buchanan, Richard Zane inside the Rollo Insurance Studio, and now we got to get into our turning point from the 94-91 Texas A&M victory in triple overtime in Baton Rouge on Saturday. Olin, there's so many to choose from. Like, is the real turning point just Rashawn Aggie's and one bucket at the end of the third overtime to put you up for good?
You could say that, and I wouldn't completely disagree. But here's the irony of this for me. You might think this is coming out of left field. By the way, who plays left field for the Aggies?
Depends. Sometimes most of the time it's Jake Dewar.
Okay, man. So I'm going to be like Jake Dewar. I'm coming out of left field on this one.
All right.
And I'm going to say the game. Look. Game goes 3 overtimes. So they played, what would that be, 55 minutes?
55 minutes.
And I'm saying the turning point came just about midway through the first half.
Is that when they started whittling back?
They're down 28 to 13. It looks like this is just not their day. They don't even look like they're interested, that they barely showed up. They can't hit a shot. I think they're like 2 of 14 on three-pointers and things like that. And Josh Holloway, almost a forgotten man, nails a three-pointer. Gets an assist from Rylan Griffin. Hits a three-pointer. They're still down 28-16. But that launches, with that three-pointer, that launches, I think it was a 14-3 run. And the Aggies eventually pulled within 2, and then Vanderbilt, LSU hit a 3 at the end of the half to go up to take a 5-point lead in the second half. But the point is that run that started with Holloway's 3 got A&M back in the game, and from then on, it was a struggle for both teams. But you're at a point where you look like that, that you were dead in the water early. That this is going to be one of those, and so to me, the turning point. It wasn't the turning point as far as winning the game like Aggie. Like I said, I wouldn't argue that, but this is a different take on it. And I just think that 3 and that run that it started was the turning point in the game and going from what A&M team was going to be there in Baton Rouge that day.
So they're down 15 about midway through the first half, and then in the second half they go down 9 early.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed very similar to the story that you had seen out in the first 20 minutes, and they found a way to come back again. And Ali Deba has a layup with 7:25 left. It was their first lead. It was a 1-point lead, first lead since they led 3-2 early on. And that's when you truly started seeing the two teams go back and forth for the final 25 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, I just thought that it could have been over early.
It could have been over.
But yeah, you could say that run with Ali Deba get on the lead. You could say that. Again, what was frustrating is it was great. They came back and got the lead. Hey, this is amazing. They were down. Now they got the lead, but they never could really build on it. Never more than a 3-point lead.
No, that's crazy. After being down 15, you fight all the way back. And then in the overtimes, you got a couple huge buckets from guys that didn't score any other buckets. And Marcus Hill
with a 3-point.
Yeah, a traditional 3-point play. And then Ruben Dominguez with his only bucket of the entire game, a 3-pointer in the third overtime.
Yeah, gave you the lead with 2:57. Marcus Hill scored 3 points, but they were huge 3. Dominguez scored 3 points, but they were huge 3. So but look, if they're going to be again, what was the as big a difference as anything in the game against Kentucky was Ruben Dominguez. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying he's got to go out. I can't even remember what he scored, about 17, 18, 16, I don't know. But you need more than 3. Unfortunately, they got the win. And, Josh Holloway scored 3 points. And so when they got them, those guys who didn't produce, and Josh they don't look for him to have double figures, but to him to get a 3-pointer, that was huge. Look, going into the tournament, I know, and you know, that Rashawn Agee's going to battle. He's going to fight. He's going to get his more often than not.
Yep.
And I'm feeling pretty good about Rylan Griffin. He's typically is very productive. Now, he may go through a slump here and there, but he's typically productive. Clemens can give you 29 one night. He can give you 3 the next. Ruben can give you, 18 one night, give you 3 the next. So I'm just looking. Now, Marcus Hill has typically been especially in the second half of the SEC plays, typically been a 10 to 12 point guy. You can almost count on him. Now, but the 3 he got were huge. But hopefully, moving forward, what I'm looking for Agee to be Agee. Just, whatever his average is, be around there. Griffin to be Griffin. Hill to be what he has been. And then, Clemens to just be more productive than that. Ruben to be more productive. Pop. Hopefully Pop can always give you 18, but if you're 1 of 6 from the 3, maybe make it 1 of 3. Pop, the one thing I like about Pop is sometimes he does some things that just don't make sense. He plays out of control a little bit, but he's never appears to be afraid to, and I think he's their best guard in terms of penetrating and finishing with a layup. They were terrible. They were terrible on layups in that game against LSU. That's another thing. That was a big problem.
You're trying to look up, see what they were at the rim. So on layups, they were 20 of 41,
and got better late. And I think in the first half, they were. I don't want to say it was. I may be wrong, but they were like 11 or 27. I may be. Again, that's not. Don't hold me to that, but it was something that you're like, what is going on?
I know if you make 1 more in regulation, you obviously win the game. You don't need the 3 overtimes, but if you make 3 more, you're kind of comfortable. 3 more layups, and you feel comfortable about leaving Baton Rouge with a victory.
Yeah, and did you see though? They again, they didn't get the free throw that could have given them as Allie missed it. That could have given them the 4-point lead, and then the kid from LSU, their leading scorer, got a wide open look.
Yeah.
And I think Bucky was saying, yeah, we wanted to foul because they had put them at the line, and they didn't get to foul me. You're like, guys, you make it more stressful than it has to be sometimes.
Very stressful, but as we said,
but they won.
All's well that ends well.
Yeah.
This is a stress-free edition of TexAgs Live. Plenty more basketball conversation when we come back. You're listening to TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rolling along here on a Monday morning, TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Olin Buchanan getting ready for his trip to Nashville. He'll be traveling on Wednesday. Aggies will play on Thursday.
Thursday night.
8:30 p.m. tip-off. Crazy late game, which means we'll be up until the wee hours of Friday morning, editing and turning your recap and rapid reaction and photo gallery around. I'm sure you guys will have a good time. You guys have a great time. You're a Nashville guy, or at least you lived in the area for a little while,
for 6
so
years.
you know all the good places to take the TexAgs crew up there.
Now, Nashville's really changed since I've left.
Really?
Let's understand.
They're getting a sphere. Did you see that?
I didn't.
The thing in Vegas. They're going to build one in, at least that's the rumor, they're going to build one in Nashville.
I'm not surprised. It's really changed. And quite frankly, I didn't get into Nashville as much as you would think because I live down in Franklin, which is about 20 miles south. So we would go out to eat at a lot of the usual suspects because my son was like 3 at the time. And we didn't have people we knew that could watch him. I was always an overprotective parent. And so if I didn't know you, you're not going to be watching my child. So when we went out, we typically were in the Brentwood. Yeah. You go Nashville, Brentwood, Franklin. And so we were typically in the Brentwood area. But I'm not saying we got into Nashville some, but Monell's I don't think is there anymore, which was a famous place that people would go where you ate like, what do you call it, home style. Mm-hmm. So that was a famous place. And the Whiskey Kitchen was a popular joint. I don't even know if it's there anymore. So there are a lot of places up and down Broadway, but besides that, Joey's House of Pizza. But beyond that, I don't think those snot-nosed punks that I travel with that look down on me because I'm old enough to be their grandfather, I don't think they're going to take any direction from me anyway.
Well, you usually have good recommendations.
Only one snot-nosed pun. I like Callie.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you for clearing up the confusion. Don't want any disrespect or besmirch the name of Callie.
Or we can just go to the Bridgestone Arena for dinner because they'll be serving. It won't be great, but
just
it'll be free.
Just make Luke eat all the hot chicken again. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
That was painful for him, but I give him credit. He did it. He tried it, and the lady came out who worked there. She was amazing. She came out with some vanilla ice cream to help him out. Yeah.
Trust, that's tough. We did on B Team one time. We did Reaper, the Reaper from one of the hot chicken places here in town.
And you didn't fear the Reaper?
No, I did. It was disgusting. Like it hurt so bad. Yeah. For 30 minutes after the fact.
I once had some.
It was just one bite.
Yeah, I once had some. I didn't even get hot. I got medium, and I couldn't feel my tongue. It was that. Now, fortunately, the original place is called Prince's Hot Chicken. Almost everybody goes to Nashville. They go to Hattie B's because it's really close to Vanderbilt. So a lot of times you're there, or they have another one that's right across from Bridgestone. So that's the place that's more the touristy place. There's a place at Bolton's that was my favorite because they had great sides. And then there's Prince's, which is the original. And if you go over to get the original, it's kind of I'm going to tell you, it's kind of in a sketchy part of town. You might be in line. There'll be 20, 30 people in line, though. And there may be a bank executive in front of you, and then a Vanderbilt student, and then a crackhead, and then another bank executive, and a professor, and then the guy who sold the crack to the crackhead. There's all kinds of, you can see anything. But that original Prince's Chicken.
You might even see Olin Buchanan.
I've been there before.
He is not the crackhead or the guy who sold the crack to the crackhead. Basketball topic. Try to get away from that.
From the crackhead?
Should Bucky McMillan be the SEC Coach of the Year?
I think so. Now, that said, I wouldn't raise too big a protest if they gave it to the guy from Vanderbilt, Byington. He's done a heck of a job.
So Mark Byington, the Commodores were picked to finish 11th. They ended up finishing 11-7, and then the tie for 4th. They are the 4 seed, I believe. 0 preseason All-SEC picks for them. This is Byington's second season. So they finished, what is that? That's 7 spots higher than their predicted finish.
Yeah, so I mean, he's done a hell of a job, and they beat A&M. So if you said Mark Byington, it's Mark Byington. I almost said John.
No. Well, John Byington's going to be the coach of help me out with the name, Nick, the Yard Dogs, the Bryan Yard Dogs.
Yeah.
One of the new, I think it's amateur baseball. It's not necessarily collegiate league.
Yeah, it's collegiate league, but former major leaguers, or if you have professional experience, they're allowed to come and play as well.
Okay, so that's going to be starting this year. So Mark Byington, Vanderbilt, John Byington, Aggie legend, Bryan Yard Dog.
So if Mark Byington does somehow get that honor, or even shares it, I'm not going to put up that big a protest because they've got an argument. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me that when you take all the things involved, where Bucky McMillan took what he took over, how Buzz Williams left this program in a shambles. I mean, he was like, I'm talking about Bucky. He's like old Mother Hubbard. He went to the cupboard was bare, and he still found something to way to feed the dog, and the dog ate well.
So Texas A&M and it's Luke's
Levy. I mean, not Levy. I just almost said my dog. Reveille ate well.
Reveille ate well. So, and Evangelist tweets it all the time. He was the last Power 5 coach hired. He was 2 weeks late to the portal. Yeah, it was 83 of the top 100 players.
And then the top rated guy he got hurt.
He had 1.8% returning production from Chris McDermott. What's his name? Mackenzie Mbako hasn't even played an SEC game, and he still won 11 games.
Right. So, to me, it should be an obvious choice. But I'm just saying, if they share it with Byington, or if it's Byington, I would disagree. I couldn't remount just, I couldn't be like these numbskulls up in New York or whatever, having a protest about anything. I couldn't protest like crazy, but I would disagree.
How about if they were to give it to Todd Golden? Would you disagree? Would you have a protest about that?
No, I think Todd Golden should have won it last year. He probably did. But I mean, if you're riding on Secretariat, does that necessarily make you a great jockey?
No.
No, I mean,
but you can be a great jockey and also ride the great thoroughbred.
Yeah, that was last year.
Could be the same this year. So we'll see how it shakes out. One more segment.
Plus, I just don't like Todd Golden.
Why is that?
The way he conducts himself.
Gotcha. A little bit more here on the go. We'll wrap up this hour here.
Like the way I conduct myself either.
Yeah, no, we definitely don't like the way Olin conducts himself. But plenty more of Olin's misconduct on the other side. This is TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Nick, Olin likes this song.
I do.
He said, here's a good song.
Well, if you listen to the last time we came back, the bumper music was Travis Tritt. And then this is the other. So you asked me what
Your
Brooks.
favorite
I said,
Brooks
well, I said I like that one.
Good. They're paying attention.
Yeah.
Love that. That's awesome. Keep going. Olin, we're wrapping up the Go Hour here, brought to you by the Warehouse of CC Creations. This is TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Bucky McMillan, 11-7. He's got a chance to win SEC Coach of the Year. Where does this season, and I think this is a topic Liucci and I will get into a little bit later on when he joins the program, the 10 o'clock hour, where does this year, for this first-year head coach, rank among the first-year head coaches you've been covering at A&M since you arrived at TexAgs? Because there are quite a few impressive first seasons.
No, but I've only covered 2 first seasons.
No, I'm not talking just basketball.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking across all sports because you got here before the 2012 football season.
Yeah.
11-2, pretty impressive for Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah.
Mike Elko was playing for a spot in the SEC championship game on the final week of the regular season. Not a bad start. Jimbo Fisher gave you signs of life down the stretch, winning 4 in a row, breaking through against LSU. Also played Clemson close. Buzz Williams was Coach of the Year in his first season at A&M. And then that 2022 baseball team, Jim Schlossnickel took them to the Final Four. They were a top 5 national seed.
Well, I think there's your answer right there. I mean, we don't have to like the guy now, but you were in the Final Four at the College World Series, right? In his first. What tops that? I mean, Kevin Sumlin
won a Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, and that was
first top 4 finish in program history since when?
Since 1939, national championship. So. But of course, I still think they would have won they would have beaten Florida had he made some really, what I thought were bizarre at the time, coaching decisions. But who's done the most with the least? Bucky McMillan. Okay? Not even close. But you come in, there's a reason you're a new coach. Usually, and it's usually not because somebody great moved on. It's usually because there were problems with the previous guy. And you go to the College World Series, not just go, but you go farther than any A&M team had ever gone at that time.
Yeah.
So I would think you'd have to say that. Had A&M, had they had the football playoff, well, A&M still in 2012 wouldn't have gotten to the playoff. If you look at how the rankings were,
it would have been a 14 playoff now. But they would have been in if there were expanded,
12 teams.
They would have been in.
Yeah. Sure. So, but they went 4 first, and they wouldn't have gotten it. So, tell me why I'm wrong on that. On saying it would have been Schlossnagel.
The only reason why is because because of what's transpired
right.
since.
I mean, we don't have to like him.
That was a ridiculous season, right?
But as a journalist, you have to try to remove personal feelings and call a spade a spade.
They went 44-20 that year. They were 19-11 in the SEC. The only time A&M baseball won the SEC West when there were still divisions was that season.
You were a neophyte at that time, correct?
I was young, yeah.
And I remember having a little vacation because football and basketball back-to-back was finally over, and Irma and I are sitting on a hotel rooftop bar in Savannah, Georgia, having a drink, and I get a text message, I think it's from Billy, saying, "Hey, we need you to start covering baseball." And I ended up enjoying the heck of it, and I've been a college baseball fan ever since.
Yeah, we had a fun trip to Omaha that year. Olin, thank you as always for joining me on the Go Hour. It's a safety net, a security blanket for guest hosts such as myself.
I'm like Will Lee. I'm the blanket.
Yeah, you are the blanket. He's got us covered. Plenty more here on TexAgs Live as the show continues, and we come back. Ryan Brauninger and Texas A&M head baseball coach Michael Earley will join me inside the Rollo Insurance studio on the other side of the break. Thanks to OB. We'll be right back here on TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back. TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers here on a Monday morning. Richard Zane inside the Rollo Insurance Studio, joined now by Texas A&M head baseball coach Michael Earley and, of course, Ryan Brauninger. Coach, what did you do with a very rare free Sunday, considering the schedule we had?
My son was playing out at Travis. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Travis. So we were out there all day. It was a good time.
That's awesome. So even on your off day from baseball, still baseball.
Yeah, me and Cliff were out there. So it was nice. We don't get to see him play that much. So you got to when you can. So it was good.
And how'd he do?
He did well. They ended up getting beat yesterday. Didn't make it to the championship, but he pitched pretty good, and it was good. Good watching him play, good or bad.
How are you on, like, as a dad watching him play, especially when you got your two girls running around too?
I'm pretty like
sit off to the side.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I watch. Like I want the other guys to do well, and I'm a parent just like anyone else. But I really hate when he pitches. Like I hate it. Like he could strike out, make an error. I don't care. I just hate when he pitches. But he pitched well yesterday, so it wasn't too bad.
Speaking of pitching well, your guys did that pretty well over the weekend. I think I was most impressed with Shane, man. Like he was really upset with himself coming off the mound in inning 2 of game 1, and then like 16 straight retired after that. That's got to make you feel good going into conference play.
Yeah, he was upset, but whatever. You know what I mean? He got it together, and Shane's really good. And everyone is due to have an inning or a game or a few innings, but his bounce back and his ability to get us what looked like he wasn't going to, at one point, like, okay, we're not going to be able to get deep in this game with Shane, and then he just flipped the script and got us deep in the game, and that's really what your job is.
It's an enormous part of a doubleheader as well. Like, that was a huge turning point.
It's a big part. Doubleheaders are tough on your pitching, for sure, because you bring in a guy, you might burn him, and you don't have him for the second game, and it's like you cannot – it's really hard to manage the game and not think about the second game, but you really can't. Like, it can't be a part of it, but it always creeps in kind of your decision-making process. So what Shane did was huge for the whole series.
And then when you go back and look at it in hindsight, or even like in the moment, like you had to play. It was a necessity that you played 2 on Friday, but it also gave you an opportunity to do that for the first time this season, because you're going to get one of these weekends where it's going to rain somewhere here or somewhere else. You have to play 2 when they really matter against league opponents.
Yeah, it's funny how it worked out. Like when you got to make that decision on Thursday, they're like, it's impossible to play on Sunday. And then looking back yesterday, probably could have played. But yeah, anything you can do to get the team out of their routine, which I think the whole week was like that, and see how they respond, I think is a really good thing, because every road trip is different, every place you go. So anytime there's change and they respond well to it, it's a positive. And if they don't, it's like, how do you react and fix it? So I thought they did a nice job.
I want to go back to Shane, because the mentality in him as a leader, you kind of see it, carrying over into Weston Moss, right? That dog mentality, that pissed off, to use Weston's words, the way he came out there in his start with something to prove. What have you seen from those two guys and the staff as a whole, as they were really in attack mode this weekend, and I'm sure that's something you'd like to see moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Weston, there's no way he was happy. I know he wasn't happy with his outing against UCLA the week before. And he was like 90, 92 that game, and then this game he's 95, 97, maybe touching 98. So it's like, if you can't take something from that and you're not eager to pitch after that last outing, then this is probably not the place for you to play. And knowing Weston, I knew he was going to come out like in attack mode. And he did, man. He was great. And we need him to be good. We need them all to be good. But when a guy has an outing like that, like last week, you can make a choice. We knew what Weston was going to do, and we look forward to seeing him continue to grow as the season goes on.
I talked to Coach Pennington after game 1 on Friday between the 2 games, and he's pretty pissed about the base running. And I wanted to ask you, like, how do you verbalize that to your team, clean up? Is that something that you talk about to try to clean up between games, or do you address it after both games? But it was a little sloppy in game 1. It was like lethargic, and it was immediate bounce back again in game 2.
It was just some not smart plays, right? Like, don't do dumb stuff. You know what I mean? Like, not to, like, in the end, it's our job to coach and make them better. But somehow it's just like, you can't get picked off when you're not stealing.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? So it's just like, come on, just let's go back. Let's be fundamental. Let's play clean baseball. Let's let the players decide it, not mistakes decide it. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it after the first game. just when we did our report, like our report was basically not necessarily on the guy we were facing, but just like on let's be clean and do stuff the right way. So yeah, I mean that was. I think it got to the point a little bit where there's a couple of mistakes, and then people start playing scared a little bit, and then you end up making a mistake where it's just do what you're trying to do, and they know what to do. It was just tough.
And it felt like to me, like, and it's probably credit to Oakland, was like, and it's been a credit also to your guys because you continuously, you talked to, you got after them a little bit after game 2 at Penn. They responded on Sunday. I don't know if you had to get after them against UCLA, but they responded that Sunday. Between game 1 and 2, game 1 wasn't good enough, and game 2 was a lot better. Like, I think that you have to, as a coach, go look at all these opportunities for growth for your team against competition that you're better than, but you still look for areas of growth and be pleased with it.
Yeah, and I think like this weekend, I think too many people, I'm not saying you, but get caught up in a team like in baseball, how much you're supposed to beat a team by, right? Yeah. Like you're supposed to beat them by this or that. Well, look around the country. Like anyone can beat anyone.
Oakland was more skilled than I thought they were going to be going in.
I think my problem at the game was not the score. I told them it's not the score. It's like the mistakes we make the score tighter. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or so it's always about it's never about the score. Like, oh, we only beat these guys by this. No, we made 2 outs on the bases on 1 pitch. Yeah. In a time where the momentum was
first shifted. And third. Was it first and third no outs?
I just remember
first and second no outs with Bear at the plate. Yeah.
What do we do? And it's just like a ball in the dirt. You're at second to go to third. You got to see it kick. I think there's a play the next game. The ball didn't kick. It was underneath the catcher, and he's spinning around looking, and everyone's yelling for the guy to go. But like that's not the rule,
right?
Like you got to see it kick because all I have to do is pick it up and throw it. But yeah, I mean, I think they were fine. Like those mistakes they're bad. Like they're not good, and they fixed them and move on. They're not gonna stop. How can you limit them and learn from other people's mistakes will be the tell of everything.
Mentioned mistakes and wanting to teach and stuff like that. There's an opportunity on Saturday in the late innings with the 12-run lead. Terrence Keel, you take him out of the game for a defensive replacement. Just tell us about that decision and what you hope everybody learns from what from my perch in the press box seemed to be a mistake on a throw in from right field.
Yeah, I mean, I think just want to get Jordan in there, get him an at bat, and it wasn't anything more than that.
Good to know.
Yeah. So as you turn the page, you look toward this week, midweek against SFA, and then obviously go on the road against Oklahoma. What's first of all kind of the travel plans? Fly up there, bus up there on Thursday.
Yeah, we leave Thursday morning,
and then you'll work out in Norman.
Yeah, every road trip we roll in. We usually just depends on the timing. Like, do we go straight to the field? Do we go to the hotel? We go practice. You just try to get used to their field and their ballpark as much as possible.
And I know you haven't probably scouted Oklahoma fully yet, but you have played against Skip Johnson coach teams. What do you know about the way he builds his rosters, and what do you anticipate early on this week at looking at OU?
I have only played against him twice. And that was in 2022.
Omaha. Yeah. And I think that roster that they put together then was probably a little bit more physical, but it's like the same. To me, it's the same components with Skip. Like, you're going to get big arms.
Oh yeah, they got really good pitching. I think they're similar. I think a style of play of, like a UCLA type, like a team that's like they can do it all. They can beat you in different ways. They really do a good job on the mound and not beating themselves. Mm-hmm. They play really good defense, good base running team. They're a complete team. They're a complete team. They're going to put pressure on you, and they can put pressure on you. Your job on the pitching staff is try to limit those opportunities, and on offense, like battle against some really good arms.
Well, and going back to this past week, and you and I had talked, I believe it was like middle of last week, and you're like, hey, I think Grahovic's close. And then he comes out, has a really good weekend, elevating balls to the backside, like 2 doubles off the wall, a bunch of hits, high exit velocities. Like, what kind of tipped you off that Gavin was close to getting back to full form?
Yeah, he just had some good days in the cage, and I thought he had some decent at-bats, but never like they were coming here and there, and like he wasn't putting a whole game together. Mm-hmm. But I just think, it's baseball and hitting, and you can just kind of tell when a guy, it's kind of changing a little bit. And he was still doing well, right? But a lot of it is like battle swings, and it's just like not getting off the A swing or the best swing you want to. He just had a couple days in the cage where he kind of found something a little bit, just staying behind the ball a little better, and it just felt really good about him. So be good. I think those I know it's coming. Those guys are close to coming back. Get Gavin into form. It'd be a really good lineup.
Well, while they're still waiting on them to come back whenever they are, you have had a revolving door at second base, an outfield spot, DH. I'm interested, like, how do you guys go into a coaches meeting and make the lineup? Is it like based off of matchup where it's going to be Farr, Chestnut? Is it gut feel with Royo?
Sometimes I try to give the assistants an opportunity to have an opinion, and sometimes they just chicken out. You know what I mean? Like, you decide.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's a little bit of it's matchup, it's feeling, it's how you played the day before. Has it been kind of let's give another guy a shot, and it's just kind of been a mix, right? I mean, it's depth if your depth plays well, right? Or you're just the guy, right? And we need guys to play well, and I think for the most part they have. Like, we're not asking them to do anything crazy, but I think Sawyer Farr's done really well. Like Benderup's done really well. I think Travis and Spurts has done well. Not so much lately, but that's why you have multiple guys and you try to hit on the right one. And the matchup is probably the biggest thing.
You get asked about Nico and Boston, and they've been enormous for this team through 15 games. But just how do you feel like Jorian you're spoon feeding him, right? Like, how do you think he's taken it, and how has he progressed in some of these Wednesday workouts that we're not seeing? Because that's where you hope he's starting to continue to make, or he's making strides.
Yeah, he's got to continue to get better. When it comes to pure talent, he's got as much as anyone. But just again, just some inexperience and getting him out there as much as possible he started on Tuesday, but he's still got 6 at-bats on Wednesday. Like, he needs as many as possible and as much game experience as we can give him. And, that's going to come and go, right? So a lot of it's going to be practice and things, but he's still got a lot of work to do, as do they all. But when it clicks for him, if it ever does, it's going to be really good.
Talk about a guy with immense talent, celebrated his 21st birthday on Saturday. Caden Sorrell, playing like an All-American so far this year. Just what has been the key to his consistency through the first 4 weeks of the year?
You got a home run on your birthday, right?
Yeah, that's super cool. He's told us post-game he thinks that's the first time he's ever done that because they didn't play games on his birthday, apparently, in high school. And stuff
he was hurt last year, too.
And he was hurt last year.
Yeah, he's when he controls the zone, which honestly he's just done an okay job of. It's not been consistent. Like, when he does, he's great. When he doesn't, not so good. When he can do that, his bat to ball in the zone and the impact he makes on balls in the zone is elite, right? So as long as he stays in that square and hits balls in that square, he's going to have a really good year. I think every now and then he chases out and just hasn't put like complete. As much as crazy as it sounds, I think he could be a little better than he is, just as far as that, right? He's hitting 400 with 8 home runs. You think I'm nuts. But if he controls the zone and keeps it in that square when he swings, it's different.
Well, I do want to ask you, another guy who has controlled the zone, has Jake Dewar's output and performance maybe altered y'all's line of thinking about when Chris and Wesley come back? Before, we haven't seen a huge sample size. Jake was hitting after those guys. When Chris and Wesley come back, do you still kind of put Dewar in that 4 hole because it allows you to continue to be left, right, or right, left?
You're getting way too ahead right now. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think what your point is great, and we didn't keep him out any longer because how Jake's doing. That was just a positive,
right?
But yeah, it's. I've been thinking about it, and it's like, how do you balance that out? We don't have a ton of left-handed hitting on our team, so looking at the other team, where they might go, where they might match up. But Jake and Sorrell handle lefties really well, which is a luxury. And if you're going to be one side, you want to be right-handed as a team, not left-handed, just because guys face right-handers their whole life. But yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting to see where we go with that.
Well, TK too, right? I know ideally, you kind of want TK in that 6-7 because it for lack of a better term, it gives you 2 different lineups if you can kind of split it in half, and then really the back half of the order if you're leading off with Jake and you're going,
No,
but TK, he's been so good in the leadoff spot.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing a great job. So it's your job as a player is to make me sit here like that and think. Jake's done great, TK's done great. These 2 guys hopefully are coming back soon. Where do we put you? And I'm glad that I don't have an immediate answer, just because you could see a lot of different ways you could do it and still have a productive lineup.
You mentioned those two guys coming back soon. What's their status out of Tuesday?
You tried to get out of it.
You
tried to get out of it.
You can't.
I thought we
you
already
can't.
got
Yeah.
there.
And what do you need to see against SFA in the midweek before you head to Norman?
Yeah, so like I think they're both in a really good spot. I think it's highly likely you'll see them both this weekend. I think it's likely they both could probably play tomorrow, or at least one of them, but I don't think I'll do it. We'll see. Just depends on kind of how today goes, how tomorrow goes. They're checking every box we need to check.
Are they banging down your door to try to play?
Chris really wanted to play on Saturday.
That's good. That's one of the questions. That's one of the things you were saying.
Yeah,
like
I need you to
try to fight you to get in the lineup. Yeah.
Once they get back in the lineup, I have to think of other things to ask you. I'm running out of questions.
I hope you don't have much.
Good. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. Best of luck on Tuesday, and we'll see you then.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's Texas A&M head baseball coach Michael Earley here on TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. On the other side of the break, Bronny will stick around. We'll talk some baseball. Ryan Brauninger starting the World Baseball Classic at 11 a.m. Super cool.
Awesome.
We'll talk about that and some more on the other side here on TexAgs Live. Welcome back, TexAgs Live. It is 9:23 here on a Monday morning. As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's. That is at 10:50 a.m., but right now, be caller number 12 on the hotline at 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. Serving Aggieland since 1984, Double Dave's Pizza is serving up your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls with reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. But as a reminder, not open on Mondays. Bronny, I think the Chris Hakopian and Wesley Jordan question has run its course.
Yeah.
But I'll stop asking about it when I see him play. But credit to Coach Earley for not being passive-aggressive with me.
It was
He's
good
hilarious.
Answer. I did like the fact that he said that Chris was beating down his door trying to play on Saturday. He wanted to play. So I personally, and I don't know how the dynamic works over there. I'm not in the building every day, and I don't know how healthy Chris and Wesley are. And that you leave it up to the coaches and trainers' discernment. I am of the opinion that if I'm a coach, that I would want Chris and Wesley to have some at bats before you roll into Norman, just to try to get them back in the rhythm and game flow. Maybe hard to do if you didn't want Chris playing defense, and obviously Wesley doesn't play defense, so can only have one DH. But we'll see what the lineup looks like tomorrow night. Chris, Coach Earley has said that Chris isn't a guy that needs a ton of at bats to get himself back in a groove, and you saw that. The hiatus he had before Arlington, and then his first at bat, he hits a ball, no doubt, or out to left center field. So I don't know how much of a kind of a runway, a lead-in he needs to SEC play. But I do know this, and one of the things I'm going to write about, I'm going to just, we'll talk about it on air, but my article today that I'm going to send you to Kay to edit, it's going to be a little bit shorter this week because we know what this is. And that's the premise of my article is all right, I don't need to sit here and rehash the entire Oakland series because we know what's coming, right? And the Aggies have done a really good job, a really, really good job in this pre-conference slate, and it'll end tomorrow against SFA. Assuming they take care of business, you're 15-1 going into the real part of your schedule. Let's call it what it is. Not only on the weekends, but have you looked at the midweeks coming up? They're about to get much tougher. Texas State, UTSA, U of H.
Yep.
You're going to have to really play in the midweek as well. Houston Christian's off to a really good start in the Southland Conference. So, so you look at this stretch where you're going Vanderbilt, Texas State, Texas, Houston, LSU, UTSA, Florida. The month of April, that's a bear.
A lot of ranked opponents.
And that's a lot of really good mid-majors. UTSA's got staying power in the top 25. They were coming off a super regional berth last year. They might be the third best team in the state of Texas. Legitimately, maybe the second best team in the state of Texas. We'll see at the end of the year. They certainly were. You could probably make the argument they were the best team in the state last year. And they knocked Texas out of their own regional. Mm-hmm. So the competition is about to really ramp up, and that is what the premise of my article will be for all our TexAgs subscribers. That's what I'm going to write about today is I don't need to go back and talk about, they were sloppy. It was lethargic. That was the way I described game one against Oakland. I think Oakland probably provided them a little bit more resistance than maybe a lot of people previously anticipated. Just looking at Oakland's score, they were skilled. You hit the ball at them, they caught it and they threw it. A&M didn't rack up these crazy strikeout numbers. They competed in the batter's box. A&M was massively more talented, but Oakland was good enough to do things on the baseball field. It wasn't. That was not one of the least skilled teams I've ever seen come into Bluebell Park. Not even close.
No.
But A&M goes out there. It's lethargic game one. You like the way they responded in game two. Much, much better. And then game three, they ended up running away, and they kind of flexed a little bit there. So it was a good weekend. But in the end, everybody's still kind of looking ahead. What's coming this weekend in Norman's about to drastically change, and it's going to drastically change with the arm talent they're going to see.
Well, speaking of arm talent, A&M's pitching has been fantastic. You've put out a couple tweets about it. 21 walks and only 12 hit batters, 33 total free passes in 124 innings, a 3.05 ERA, a 1.01 whip from Jason Kelly's company. Does that have staying power? And I know that the competition level, the arm talent they're going to face is going to increase, but also the offenses are going to be more skilled up and down the lineup. So expect the numbers to jump somewhat, but are they going to be able to be the team that minimizes that?
Yeah, I think they can minimize it because they're going to throw it over the plate, and that's still your best odds and your best percentages of getting outs. And they've been good on defense. So their arm talent is better this year. We've talked about that in the offseason, how they raised the floor of the pitching staff, and I think we're seeing that, right? Like the floor has been raised. They're also throwing strikes continuously at an elite percentage. You know, Shane Cedeo's outing on Friday, he really sprayed the ball through the first 2 innings. The second inning, he had 0 fastball command. I mean, the misses were big. They were never in the same spot. And he comes into the dugout and fixes himself, or he and JK, it changed right after the second inning. He ended that start with like an 80% strike percentage. And when the first 2 innings, he was all over the place. That's pretty incredible. And if Weston Moss is going to throw it over the plate with like that mentality that we saw on Friday in game 2, and then Aiden Sims has been awesome. So these starters are going to keep you in games because they're going to keep throwing it over the plate. A&M's picking it up and throwing it at a really high rate right now defensively. Kudos to Cliff Pennington for getting an infield, and we talked about it last week, an infield with 2 true freshmen on the left side, a revolving door at second base, a brand new first baseman, and a catcher that has made tremendous strides behind the plate from year 1 to year 2 in College Station. Cliff Pennington and Troy Claunch deserve a lot of credit for how the defense has played up to this point. That being said, like I'm super interested to see like if A&M gets bloodied in a extended stretch for throwing it over the plate. Does that get anybody gun shy from throwing it over the plate? I tend to think that it won't because all these guys are older. We're seeing some freshmen in some spots, Cole Hubert and Hunter Vincent, but not extended, stretches. Mm-hmm. So I think, the veteran, the experience of the pitching staff, I think they're ready to handle the SEC gauntlet in terms of like mentality and just keep attacking hitters.
Seen some pretty special outfielders come through here over the last few years, right? And Caden Sorrell is off to a start that matches what we saw from Braden Montgomery and Jace Lavalette and even Dylan Rock at the plate offensively. But he's also the complete player, just like Montgomery and Lavalette were, where he's fantastic defensively in addition to the offensive prowess. What have you seen from Caden as the analyst, as the coach, that has allowed him to be so good through the first 4 weeks?
Yeah, you just kind of try to filter what Coach Earley is saying, and I can give you some more on top of that. It was what he's meaning is like, from a Major League scouting perspective, the reason why they love Caden Sorrell is because of his end zone damage. When he swings at pitches in the strike zone, he's consistently hitting them on the barrel and hitting them very hard at a higher percentage than most elite prospects in the country. Like, he is doing that at an incredible rate. The same thing with Braden. Like, Braden's 1 year at A&M is when you threw the ball in the zone to Braden, it got crushed. Same thing with Caden Sorrell. And the only thing that gets him into these offensive like sputters is himself. And we've only seen a brief glimpse of that in Game 3 against Tennessee Tech and then the midweek against Corpus. Like, he swung at everything. Mm-hmm. He just kept swinging, and he was trying to swing himself out of a little bit of a dark spot, and that's not how you get yourself out. But for him, he knows if I can hit it, I can do some real damage. And so that's the line that he's walking. I actually wrote about that in the preseason. Like, what is the next step for Caden Sorrell is just controlling what he swings at. Because when he swings in the zone, he does big-time damage. And opposing pitchers are going to start going, and opposing coaching staffs are going to go, how much can we get him to chase in a weekend? He's done a pretty good job of that so far, especially after that first, that little, like I said, that little bit of a dry spell that he was on. He's done a great job of controlling what he swings at. But again, Oklahoma's going to run a bevy of arms at him that are really good, starting on Friday night with a guy whose draft stock is skyrocketing, Cam Johnson.
Plenty of time to talk about Texas A&M and Oklahoma after we get through Tuesday. Baseball Bunch will come around on Friday morning's edition of TexAgs Live. But there's a big game tonight in Houston. World Baseball Classic's been electric to watch. USA versus Mexico, 7 o'clock. But for the Aggies, there's interest in the 11 a.m. game in Miami.
On Tubi?
on, is it Tubi or is it on Fox Sports 1? I don't know.
Cooper, look that up.
Ryan Brauninger is going to get the start against one of the most talented offenses ever constructed in the history of baseball.
Yeah, it's
in
awesome.
his first professional season. That's super cool.
And I texted him last night and basically said, good luck, man. Like, regardless of outcome, he is going to remember this forever. Like, his first real professional start in a real environment, like, that place is going to be a circus in Miami. Like, when the Dominican plays there, it is rowdy, raucous, and he gets to throw against that lineup. And so if he goes 5 innings of 4-hit baseball and keeps them down, he'll tell his grandkids about it.
Yeah.
But if he gives up 5 in the first inning and Ronald Acuna Jr. hits the ball out of the stadium, he'll tell his grandkids about that too. Like, so this is an incredible life experience for Ryan Brauninger, a guy that was just, he was so great to us here. He's just a great dude, obviously a great player for A&M, but he's so easy to pull for. So, Brauninger, it's baseball. Anything can happen. Just keep throwing it over the plate and like roll your dice and compete.
I'm going to wait to reach out to Ryan until after today, but we're going to try and get him on TexAgs Live this week, right?
Yeah.
Pitching in the World Baseball Classic, super cool. Michael Walker did it for Team USA on Friday, and try and reach out to him as well, see if, especially with pool play ending this week. Let's talk about tonight, USA-Mexico. Big game, 2 undefeated
Who's throwing
teams,
for Mexico?
Who's throwing? It's Paul Skeens for USA, right? I can find the probables here in just a second.
I can tell you this, that whoever Mexico's throwing is not going to be as good as Paul Skeens. I feel confident in saying that. But, that'll be a game, and it'll be a ton of emotion. And I always love watching how these big leaguers interact with the game of baseball, especially in the playoffs with their clubs. But with this wearing your country across your chest, that has been the coolest thing to see, was the dugouts reaction to Kyle Schwarber's homer against Great Britain, and then Gunnar Henderson's reaction to his RBI single that he stretched into a double. Like, these guys are laying it all on the line for their country, and it's just so cool to see the best players in the world. And if you're, a young American baseball player, you're turning this stuff on and you're watching, like, Aaron Judge play the game with emotion. Whenever he plays for the Yankees and he's playing 162, he hits a homer, no big deal. But this, you can tell it's a different level. That's been the coolest part about this.
Manny Barreda for Mexico tonight.
Never heard of her.
Went to the game on Saturday against Great Britain. Electric. The Schwarbomb, electric. Just being in a ballpark, everybody's wearing red, white, and blue, waving the flag. It's so much fun. This tournament is awesome for the game of baseball.
I think it's really making people think hard about adding baseball to the Olympics.
Well, it's going to be there in 2028 in LA. Bronny, thanks so much.
Yep.
Talk plenty more baseball as the week rolls on. And we'll be watching Ryan Brauninger today at
Absolutely.
11 a.m. We're going to take a break here. Short segment on the other side here. It's TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back. TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Richard Zane in the Rollo Insurance Studio, filling in for David Nuno, who's enjoying some spring break action with his kiddos. And right now we're going to go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center to check in with Cooper Patterson. Coop, can you go ahead and provide us an update with what's on TexAgs today?
I'd love to do that, but before I do that, I have to let you know how you could access this content if you even wanted to see it.
Yeah,
What's the
please.
point of going down the list if you can't even access it? You got to go to texags.com/subscribe. You got to pay for our premium subscription, and you're going to get all this awesome content. Let's go through that content, Richard. So we have 2 basketball recaps from OB and Luke Evangelist, who couldn't be more different in age. So if you're more towards OB's age, go read that one. If you're more towards Luke's age, go read that one. You're going to get a much better understanding of what happened in the 3 overtime thriller.
They might be different in age, but they both write at about a 3rd grade level, and that's where Kay and I come in as the
Cooper's
editor.
acting like you're going to get like a bunch of 6-7 references and stuff in Luke's.
I wouldn't put it past him. We have baseball recaps from this guy Richard Zane. He's okay at Pop-A-Shot, not the best, but great at making baseball recaps. We have a Caden McCarty interview. He's one of the Texas A&M commits from the 2027 class with Cade Drawn. Great interview. I saw some of that on Twitter. He had some awesome things to say. And then lastly, we're going to have some NIL, not lastly, but just more featured content. That's not at all the end of the content we have. We'll have NIL interviews with 2 basketball players, Marcus Hill and Pop Isaacs.
Awesome. Coop, anything on the Catalyst Pre-Performance text line worth getting into?
Yeah, we've been talking baseball for a while, but David and Franklin this morning during the go hour, he had a great text about basketball. He says, I was disappointed that the coaching staff didn't use Hill, Holloway, Dominguez, and Lane more in the overtime portions of the game. I know they use Hill and Dominguez a little, but it's hard for me to criticize this coaching staff, though. They've been excellent for most of the season.
Yeah, great check. We're going to talk plenty more basketball during the 10 o'clock hour when Billy Liucci joins the show, even though he's calling me right now. But on the other side of this break, we're going to talk women's hoops, right? Texas A&M's women's basketball coach, Joni Taylor, joins TexAgs Live on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Never a dull moment when you work at TexAgs, all right? Richard Zane inside the Rollo Insurance Studio, welcoming you back into TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. And right now it's time to jump out to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, where we find Texas A&M head women's basketball coach Joni Taylor. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great, Richard. How are you?
I can't complain, and if I could, what good would it do, you know? First off, I want to talk about Fats Joni, because you got an update last Friday, but I want to go straight to the source. It's better than expected. What can you tell us about her status with postseason basketball looming?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Glory to God. We got back on Thursday. She had an MRI actually that morning before we left Greenville, and when we returned that evening, she came straight to the training room to try to get some work done, and the results came in late Thursday night that nothing is torn. Obviously, we have to be careful because of HIPAA. But what I can say is that nothing is torn. She's got a bit of a bone bruise, and she's working out with our trainer, Stacy Kissel, this entire spring break like a mad woman to get her knee back functioning and get some swelling out, but feels really good and is making great progress. So that was the best possible outcome we could hope for.
That's really awesome to hear. And I know she's so important to the team's success, but as she's been over here for some interviews and stuff at the TexAgs studio, we've really enjoyed getting to know her. So as great as she is on the court, we know she's an awesome human being off of it, and it's awesome to hear great news about a great player. Going back to Greenville, Coach, and obviously it ended in a heartbreaking fashion and not the way you guys wanted it, but y'all were among the hottest teams in the entire league. You were, I believe it was 6 of 7 at one point. Coach, what changed? What allowed you guys to go on such a run, to get back onto the bubble and back into the fight for NCAA tournament inclusion?
Yeah, I want to say this about Greenville. We didn't get the outcome we wanted after Fats went down in the second quarter. It jarred us, and we just, I thought our team showed a lot of resolve and resilience when you're trying to recover from what she brings to the table, and that quick of a turnaround, the way it happened, how it happened, that arena, Bon Secours Arena, was completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. I thought, we came up short, and we don't claim moral victories, but I thought just the way our team pulled together in that moment was really good, and to only lose by them to Auburn by 1 after having something so tragic happen on the team, I was really proud of how they stuck together and played for each other and played for Fats. To answer your question, we just continue to take the next right step. I told this team before we ever played an SEC game in January, hey, 12 of you have never done this before. That's hard. It's going to feel really, really different. And not only have 12 of you never done it, our schedule in January is the toughest schedule in the entire country for that span of time. And I still think that holds because we have the 7th strength of schedule in the entire country now. But to go Oklahoma and then 2 road games and come back and have Vanderbilt, Texas, LSU back to back to back, and then to have Oklahoma and South Carolina anchor your January, all those are top 5 programs when we played them. So you've got 12 players who've never done it in this league, which is hard enough, and then they're going to do it for the first month against the top 5 teams in the country that are in our league. Mm-hmm. So our challenge to them was to have fresh eyes every single day, trust the process, and continue to grow. And so we had to learn how to find success when it didn't come in a win. We obviously wanted to win every game we played. Some of those games obviously weren't pretty, that the score was lopsided, but I could tell that we were continuing to move it in the right direction. And so what we see now is a product of the trust they had in each other, the trust they had in our assistant coaches who spent countless hours in the gym working on their game, the trust they have in me, this program, this university. The same shots we're making now were the same shots we took January and missed. Our confidence is better. The ball has good pop, good energy. It understands where it's supposed to go, why it's supposed to go there, when it's supposed to go there. Defensively, we've done a great job of continuing to raise our standard there and letting that be our guiding force as we continue to get better offensively. So I think it's a little bit of all those things. We've grown up a lot. We've stayed together. But these young ladies deserve all the credit because of who they are as human beings. It's just like you said about Fats. Like when you are around her, you recognize really quickly she's a better person than she is a player. And the same thing can be said for everybody else on our roster.
I want to talk about your resume here in just a moment, Coach, but one of those 12 that you talked about never playing an SEC game before was Nicera Pryor. Inch for inch, she might be the best player in the entire league. Second team, all SEC, all defensive team. It's only 1 year for her, but what kind of impact has she had on your entire program?
I'm trying to figure out how to get her back. I don't think that's going to be possible, but I can dream and wish. Nye is Nye. I've said that several times. I do think she's one of the best players in our league. At her size, for her to be one of the best two-way players, to step on the court every single night, knowing that the game plan is going to be to try to take her out of the game. Her mental resolve, her toughness, the way she takes hits at the rim by big people, all of it is just so impressive. I think in terms of impact, it shows you what's possible when you put your mind to something, when you put in hours in the gym, and when you bet on yourself. Nye had a lot of places she could have gone, but she came to Texas A&M because she wanted to play for us. She wanted to be in this league, and she wanted to prove to herself that she was good enough and bet on herself. And it's one thing to bet on yourself, but after you bet on yourself, you've got to do the work. And so after she made that dream come true in terms of coming to Texas A&M, she put in the work, and that's what's so impressive about her. She knows she's going to play the most minutes. She knows she's not going to get a sub. She knows she's going to get yelled at the most. She knows it all starts with her, and she still shows up every single day saying, hey, what do you have for me today? Let's go get it.
Coach, I know Selection Sunday is coming up, and you guys are still on the bubble. Some numbers to run through. Your net strength of schedule, 7th nationally. It's best among all bubble teams. Your wins above brackets, number 38 nationally, 4th among bubble teams. You've got 2 quad 1 top 25 road wins, 7 top 55 net wins. You're 6-2 in your last 8, which is best among all 4 teams in the bubble. Fats is healthy, and you guys have wins over Colorado, Mississippi State, and Kansas State, all other teams on the bubble. Coach, this is your platform. Make your case to the committee for why Texas A&M should be included in the 2026 NCAA Tournament.
Well, thank you, Richard. I'm telling you, those are incredible stats that we've tried to share with just people in the public and the committee. And I think for us, it's why not? When you look at the parameters of how they decide a team that's going to be in the tournament or not, we check all those boxes. We're playing well lately. That's taken into consideration. We're fully healthy. We got that confirmed on Thursday and wanted to make sure that the committee knew that. You spoke about our WAB. You spoke about our net. You spoke about our strength of schedule. I think all those are reasons why. The only thing that comes up is our non-conference schedule, and I will keep saying it, and I will say it as respectfully as I can. The teams that we didn't get a chance to play, that for whatever reason the contract didn't work out and it got voided and backed out, those were going to all be quad 4 opponents, teams that respectfully we would have beaten by 25 or 30. And so when you look at what we did with our non-conference schedule, the Power 4 opponents that we played that you mentioned, going to a tough environment in Kansas State, beating Colorado on a neutral court, our Power 4 opponents in the non-conference, we addressed all of those things and I believe handled it beautifully. So the one thing that's going to be held against us is 3 wins against a quad 4 team. I just don't think that should be what we are looking at. Let's look at the whole picture of what this team has done, and 7 wins in this conference to get you in the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. Coach Taylor, thank you so much for taking some time with us this morning, and we'll be watching on Sunday, crossing our fingers, crossing our toes, and doing everything we can to hopefully get you guys in the NCAA tournament.
Richard, it's always great speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. That's Joni Taylor there on the Buppies Catering and Bartending Hotline. Selection Sunday this week. On the other side here, TexAgs Live. TexAgs co-owner and executive editor Billy Liucci joins us next. Will he be in studio? Will he be on the phone? Who knows? That's part of the fun. 10 o'clock here on a Monday morning. You are listening to TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Richard Zane inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. Cooper's in here with me, but there's one noticeable absence of somebody who is not here, and that is Billy Liucci. It's supposed to be Lunch with Liucci, but the TexAgs co-owner and executive editor not here yet. So with that, Nick, we're going to go ahead and throw it to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Cooper's got a couple topics he wants to get into as we wait on the source to pull up fashionably late, as always. Cooper, howdy.
Howdy, how are y'all doing? We have some great content from Luke Evangelist that he posted on his Twitter.
Time out. Great?
I think it's great.
Great.
I think he has great basketball coverage.
Great. Oh, that much is true. He does do a great job of covering Texas A&M basketball. But great on these tweets you're about to read out?
I think they're really good statistics.
Great.
So we've got a stat about A&M's defense. So he started the tweet saying, who remembers back when A&M started the season and they couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense? Well, here's how they finished conference play. Some defensive statistics. They finished first in three-point percentage allowed, second in turnover percentage, third in defensive efficiency, third in effective field goal percentage, and fourth in steal percentage. They have absolutely turned it around on the defensive end.
Yes, they have. And, Coop, great stats from Luke. Good job for the tweet and evangelist. But we've got to talk about some breaking news here as the email has just hit my inbox. Jamie Morrison has signed a contract extension to remain the head volleyball coach at Texas A&M through the 2031 season. Of course, this extension coming after a national title in just his third season at Texas A&M. Quote from Trev Alberts, Jamie has quickly built a program that is respected nationwide for its level of success on the court. He has raised the standard of Aggie volleyball, and I am confident that in the coming years we will see new chapters in his elevation of the volleyball community in and beyond Aggieland. Congratulations to Jamie Morrison on signing a contract extension to remain in Aggieland through 2031. More coverage of that later on TexAgs. And now we go out to the to the Buffy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, where we find a Luciano Mobile. Good morning, Mr. The Source. Hello? Howdy, Billy.
I'm good, Rich. How are you?
I'm good, just panicking as always. You know how I do when I host the show. Obviously want to talk to you about basketball and another important win for Bucky McMillan and company on Saturday in Baton Rouge, but Jamie Morrison signing a contract extension this morning. Just your initial thoughts on that as he's going to stay at Texas A&M through 2031.
No, I think that's pretty amazing. It's deserved.
Have a good day.
You too. It's well deserved, and it is. National title this quickly into a tenure is unheard of. It's unthinkable. He's building a program though, and that's something I tell people. I talked a lot about it as this was going on. I remember. I don't know if it was day one, week one. It was very early in Jamie being here, and a mutual friend of ours, dear friend of both of ours, Stacy Sikora, who worked with Jamie, played for Jamie. She called me immediately and said he's going to win a national title. He's the best coach I've ever played for, and that included 3 Olympic teams and all the international, and swore by him. And we sat down, and he had a vision, Zane, not just for how to rebuild it or how to get them back in the tournament or how to turn them into a top 10 program or how to win a national, to reach a Final Four or win a national title. It was to build he believed that you could build a powerhouse volleyball program, like year in and year out, just a college sports power here at this place. He believes in A&M more than most coaches that I've seen come through here, and that's not a knock on others, but he just, from day one, has had a belief that volleyball at this place could be special, and he had a plan and a vision for it, and he's talked to probably 1 million different people on ideas on how that can happen, including us at TexAgs at times. He's just done a remarkable job, and I'm glad to see them reward him for it. And again, I don't think it's really hard to win one, right? I mean, look at a team like Pitt and all the Final Fours they've been to, and this year it was this upstart A&M program that came in and kept them out of it. So really difficult to do. As we sit here today, as he signs, a new deal, I would say I absolutely expect they'll win more than one here while he's here. And just a fun sport to watch. I think it's one of the more exciting college sports to watch on TV, to be at, any of the above. So anyway, and those smaller sports sometimes too, like volleyball, basketball, there's something about it where the athletes just seem a little more accessible, a little more get to know them for the fans, and I think that's always embraced here in College Station.
Of course, and he's the reason, the driving force behind the TexAgs Texas A&M volleyball board forum here. His reach and volleyball, his love for the sport, it knows no limits, and he is absolutely growing the community here in College Station. Billy, where are you at? I know you're still on the phone. With your relation to the office, what would you like for us to do here?
Why don't you go to a break? Because if there's one thing that also Jamie Morrison, if there's one thing that also knows no limit, it's your level of anxiety and panic. So you can go to break and we'll come back.
Yeah, you could only see my heart, it's so.
It's on
it's
TV right now.
It's crazy. It is pounding. Anyways, all right.
Well, I was going to say your level of stupidity is unmatched, but that would be a joke that you and I find funny, but then everybody would go, "Oh, he's so mean to him."
Yeah, that would be funny. And plus, you and I know that my level of stupidity is not even top 5 highest in this office. Anyways, we'll hit a break here on TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Plenty more with Billy Liucci in studio when we return. Panicking Richard Zane back with you inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers, and you're here. Howdy.
How you doing, Richie?
I'm just panicking up a storm. Like I'm
okay,
so
you've
scared.
overdone the panic thing. Now we can
see. I've killed it. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
I've killed it.
Just be yourself.
Nobody's actually panicking.
This does not need to be a
on
bit.
Vacation.
Just be you, man.
I am just being me.
All right.
Just living the dream.
Y'all don't understand. Richard's normally very normal. You get him like in the right setting.
Yeah, I'm the most normal you actually have here. Actually, that's probably not true.
Probably Olin.
The most normal. No. Olin? The weirdest one we have. The most normal is probably the one bringing you half and half. If I had to pick one.
Yeah.
And then probably Nick. And then myself. And then Kay. And then way down the list is Nuno.
Can we get to this is the first time I've ever just been like, can we just skip?
Perfect.
Callie, help. Can we just skip right to the sports?
All right,
please?
Right into the sports. Let's talk about Saturday's triple overtime victory in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Discombobulated at times, frustrating at times, but all's well that ends well. The Aggies pick up their 11th SEC victory. They seem like a lock for the NCAA Tournament. What a fantastic job Bucky McMillan has done in year one. At this point on this show last week, after the Texas loss, we're thinking, oh goodness, you've got to find a way to beat one of them to get the 10 and then maybe get some help in the SEC tournament. They go 2-0 in the last week of the regular season, and now anything that happens in Nashville feels like, it's the cherry on top, and now they're playing for seeding rather than inclusion.
I'm just saying that was a long, like we were on a runway waiting to take off on that one.
What you said is I just get on.
Which is what I
get in a roll and I just don't stop. That's what was the word you said? A loop.
I
get in a loop and I can't be stopped.
You said a lot there. No, I do the same thing. I'm just messing with you. But, it's interesting. A week ago, we felt like they had to beat Kentucky, and my whole thing was, if they didn't beat Kentucky, in my opinion, the bubble's so. You saw this weekend, like the 9 true bubble teams all lost Saturday, all 9 of them. And had A&M lost, they wouldn't have been on it. What the Aggies did with these 2 wins, in my opinion, is they have cruised past that little margin for not error, but lack of information and knowledge on not only our part, but all the people that try to do the projected fields part, all the projections, all those type people around the country. I think the Aggies have played their way out of that. So in other words, if A&M, for whatever reason in the eyes of the committee, was lower and held in a little slightly less regard than all the bracketologists, right? Then you run the risk of like, hey, what happens if South Carolina beats OU and you lose to a bad South Carolina team? And Michi Johnson goes off and you lose that game. What does that look like? Well, it's fine unless the committee, unless you lost at LSU and then you lost to whoever you would have played in the first round, whether that you had a bye or not, then how does the committee view you? I think they've played, I'm very confident in saying they have played their way out of that, like that margin for error. They're beyond that now. So if they are held in a little less regard by the committee than all the bracketologists and then what we think, they're still in the field even with the loss in Nashville. So that was a really significant 2 games. Plus, I think they also punched their ticket along the way too. I think in winning both, though, while others struggled, they moved their way. They're in. They're going to the NCAA tournament. I'm very confident in saying that. Nothing is ever a sure thing, but we all. I think it's not just here at TexAgs and our amateur bracketology crew here, but I think around the country, everyone's saying A&M's in. They're off the bubble. You had to beat Kentucky. But I think if they'd have lost to Kentucky, they'd have had to win at LSU and minimum probably 2 games in the tournament just to feel safe. So that was like a 3-for-1. Well, when you beat Kentucky and then you look and you're down double digits at LSU, I think anyone would be lying if you said you weren't starting to go like, what if you lose this one, lose to Ole Miss? Or what if you drop back-to-back games to LSU going into Selection Sunday? It probably wasn't going to happen. A&M's better than those teams, but both of those teams, and in Mississippi State even, or in Ole Miss, have shown that they can play with a lot of teams in the conference on a given night. So you were kind of sitting there going, I hope we're not playing with fire here. And what a comeback. What a rally. Once again, I use the word gritty, and it's overused because I think Jimbo used it. Now all these coaches use it now. Dan, we have the grit hats, me and you, from when we went to Detroit.
We should have worn our grit hats
just for this segment, yeah. But like, it was gritty because when you don't have your best stuff and you're not really playing your game, and I know the 94-91, there's a world where you could have seen A&M scoring 94 in regulation, much less in triple. I mean, what did they score against Kentucky the other night? Was it 86? We don't have to look it up, but it was it 86? Don't look it up. Don't do it. There it is for you right there.
They scored 96.
96. Golly. So, like, you could have seen them do that in regulation, right? Against clearly a much better team than LSU.
I want the record to show I didn't look it up. I listened.
Well, they listened in the back. But triple overtime.
Yep.
And they scored 94. How would they have at regulation? Like 72, 70? 70 or 72. It was not A&M's style of game. They were not hitting shots. The offense was bogged down. It did not look like it normally looks when A&M wins.
Well, they only got the double-digit three-pointers on Rubens in the third overtime.
Yeah, but they won. They found a way to win, and they did it on the road. And I'm just telling you, sometimes it's harder to do that in an empty, quiet arena with no fans there than by the way, Quinn Buchanan, Olin's son Quinn, and all his buddies no-showed. They didn't go because they're on spring break. So there you go, LSU. You had no fans. And it makes it harder to play in those venues. I've got a long time as being a sports journalist to the point that I'm either sitting courtside or on the sideline where you can feel the difference. And I'm telling you, little things even like shooting free throws in an empty gym, I believe it's harder to do than make them with a crowd. Everyone's got the things waving around. It's all fine. When it's empty and quiet and one or two people yell out, it is everything about it, I think, becomes harder. And coming off that Kentucky game and that atmosphere and going there, LSU hadn't quit, Zane. They showed it against A&M, but they showed it against a lot of other teams, too. If you go look at their recent results, they've been in some really close games against tournament teams. So I thought when I looked at the schedule, they're going to have quit by then. They had not, clearly. A&M had to fight with everything they had, and they wanted to get into this tournament that badly. And I just think that's a real feather in the cap of this team to come back on the road with everything on the line against a team that's just kind of playing with house money, has nothing to lose. That's a dangerous opponent when they've got as much talent as you do, and they're playing with nothing to lose. And maybe A&M got another LSU coach fired. I don't like that. I don't like people losing their jobs and getting fired, but it is in the sports realm for A&M to roll into Baton Rouge and maybe get a second coach canned in the same year. This rivalry is getting fun. We were going to talk about it on Moving Goalposts later today. Like a few weeks ago, I said, does OU have a Texas Longhorn problem?
Does LSU have a Texas A&M?
I know we're on in Houston too, and there's a lot of LSU people there. Does LSU have an A&M problem? Not yet, but if the Aggies go into Baton Rouge and beat Lane Kiffin and Mike Elko and Marcel Reed go in there and Reed's 3-0 against LSU and Elko's 3-0 against LSU and they win back-to-back in Baton Rouge, and that would be 4 out of 5. I believe they've won 7 out of 8 in basketball. LSU fans they really don't care about that. Maybe they will if they go rehire Will Wade and get that going again, but for now, they say they don't. But it's 7 out of 8. And prior to that, in baseball, it's even, I don't want to say baseball because LSU's got 2 national titles. A&M has 2 World Series berths, a national finalist. That is not a trophy. That is not a ring. But even in that head-to-head, with as great as LSU's been, their last 10 games, the Aggies and Bayou Bengals are 5-5.
Well, and LSU had a Sacramento State problem this weekend.
Yeah, they do.
I
think they'll get that figured out.
Jay Johnson's got a supremely talented team. Sticking with A&M, sticking with basketball, 11-7. You finished tied for 4th in the league. You're going to the NCAA tournament. You've been covering Texas A&M athletics for a long time and in multiple different leagues, back to the Southwest Conference and then the Big 12 and now the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Bucky McMillan's got a case to win SEC Coach of the Year in his first season on campus. But beyond that, where does his first year compare to other impressive coaching debuts in College Station that you've seen? Because
good question.
There's a handful out there.
Don't start answering it. Is that what you want to do? It sounds like.
I mean, I've got some candidates for sure, but you've seen a lot more than I have, so I'm getting out of the way.
Well, you can feel free to interject, and it'll be like, just throw up some shots and see. But I'm going to start with
throw up some shots on there.
I'm going to start with the obvious. I don't think there's a better number one. I know there might be coaches in their respective sports that have won a conference or made a run in the postseason. What did Pat Henry do in his first year? I'm not sure. But nothing will top what Kevin Sumlin did year one here at A&M because of everything that went with it, because of going into the SEC, and a lot of people thought A&M was just going to get just squashed and run over and just trampled by everyone from Alabama and LSU all the way down to Arkansas and Ole Miss, who had lost like 15 in a row. I'm sure people thought A&M might not be as good as Vandy because they hadn't been in the conference. Mississippi State. Instead, they went 11-2. They finished in the top 5. They went into Tuscaloosa, beat number 1 Alabama. Luke Jokel won the Outland Trophy. Johnny Manziel won the Heisman. They went to the Cotton Bowl and humiliated. They had the Stoops brothers dancing like complete clowns on the sidelines during that one, and with maybe the all-time greatest performance in Cotton Bowl history from Manziel. He'd probably be, I don't know what it's been more than 10 years. It's about time they induct Johnny into the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame for that performance. But anyway, nothing will top that one. Off the top of my head, Zane, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, second would be Jim Schlossnagle. Now, Bucky McMillan, TBD, but I'm going to put Slosh. They
won the SEC West. A&M's never done that.
They won the West, which I guess it's not even a thing anymore.
19-11 in conference.
But more importantly than that, they went to Omaha. They advanced to the College World Series in year one, and in dramatic fashion when you think of that regional and the win over TCU, and then you go on to the Supers and a really good Louisville team and just dust them. You get to Omaha, where A&M hadn't won a game since a young Billy Liucci was a freshman in college, and he not only wins one, he wins two. And one of the two is against the Texas Longhorns to send them home in an elimination game, and also beat Texas during the regular season, hammered them down in Austin, right? So, yeah, like his first season checked every single box as well. So I'd put him, Slosh's season one at number 2. And right now in my head, Bucky is at 3, going 11-7. People are making fun of the graphic. Sometimes the admins, by the way, Sometimes the admins, it's like they hit send, and it's like, wait a second, let's not make it look. There's a way to word this where it doesn't look like we're bragging about a 4th place finish, but it is really impressive. There's a difference between, and that's not what they were trying to do. There's a difference between bragging, which they weren't trying to do, and just saying, hey, like, this is important. This is a recruiting tool here. This is something that we want people to see. Because everybody was real loud about leaving A&M out of any discussion, and we spent a whole offseason being told this was going to be a 13th, 14th place finish in the 16-team SEC. We finished 4th, and I do think that's what the social media stuff is for. It's really for recruits and for media people that talk about your program, and it's like, hey, just so y'all haven't forgotten, we were picked 13th. Here we are in a tie for 4th. And to be honest, Zane, they're a double overtime. You know, they're like one shot in Knoxville, or one free throw, or one stop in Knoxville away, or one shot against Mizzou away from being. If it was in Knoxville, they'd be 3rd place alone, or 4th place alone, right? They'd be behind Florida, Bama, Arkansas. It'd be A&M by themselves. In other words, they'd have a double bye. They're one possession in Knoxville in like the 2nd or 3rd SEC game from sitting there with a double bye in the SEC tournament in year 1. So, and again, you beat your rivals. You went on the road and beat Texas and Austin. You beat at Texas A&M. There's always going to be something to be said in my mind for beating the University of Kentucky and Big Blue Nation. So you did that. And then on top of that, Richard, when you look at this conference, some of the losses they had were insanely competitive. Again, look, who are the big dogs in the SEC in the last 5 years? Just name them.
Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky.
Okay,
I'd say those.
Stop there. You beat Kentucky.
Yep.
You beat Auburn on the road.
Yep.
You got blown out by Florida, who's blown out everybody. You lost to Tennessee on the road in double OT. You lost to Bama on the road, 100-97. Like, they went toe-to-toe with the teams that have kind of run this conference for the last 5 years or so, and they were as good dead even as 4 of those 5 teams. And then on top of that, you went into Austin and won, which the team hasn't done in God knows how long. So Bucky is my 3rd. Now, this is where you come in and remind me of some others that I'm forgetting, because I know there are.
Well, I thought both Jimbo Fisher and Mike Elko had really impressive first seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So those were also on my list of just honorable mentions.
No, those would.
Buzz Williams was Coach of the Year and would have gone to the tournament had there not been
not necessarily. That's not. I don't think that part's true. But he did a great job in year 1. They could have. I don't think. It's different. You see you're probably looking at a conference record and assuming that means they're going to get in.
They were 10-8, 16-14 overall. Yeah. But they were playing as well as anybody that they could have played their way in Nashville.
Yes, they could have. And especially when you saw how Buzz's teams later fared in Nashville, then you could say maybe, just maybe. But
Josh Nebo was a man amongst boys.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I'd put the 2 football seasons ahead of that.
The breakthrough against LSU in 2018, you played Clemson close, you won 4 straight, and then 2 years ago you're playing for a berth in Atlanta in the last week of the year.
I would put Elko's ahead because what he did is they actually beat 2 top 10 teams at home versus 1. They both lost close in their first game, or Elko was his second. I mean, Jimbo was his second game. Against Notre Dame for Elko, Clemson for Jimbo. Jimbo's first season gets an edge because of what they did in the bowl game, where they just absolutely dismantled NC State. So they were 9-4 versus 8-5. But in Elko's case, you took the field against Texas for a win in your end date in Atlanta in the final game. So close. Both of those were nice, really strong first seasons, but those don't compare to the things we were talking about at the beginning. The first 2 for sure. That would be more comparable to like what Bucky's done in year 1. But the difference is, you can say what you will, like what did Jimbo Fisher inherit from Kevin Sumlin? What did Mike Elko inherit from Jimbo? Both of them are not. They're on the way down from what they were under each of those respective head coaches, their predecessors, but nothing compared to what Bucky inherited.
1.8 return.
Now you have to factor in that they were able to go in the portal and go and kind of construct their own roster, which Elko and Jimbo, you can't do that in football that easily. But Bucky also got here way late, and there wasn't a lot in the portal. And again, he had 1 player. So his deal, hell, it might be number 1 if you really want to start breaking stuff down, that that the guy comes here from Samford and there's one player in his locker room. One. There are actually three. Two of them were down here working out, getting ready to transfer to Maryland, which I thought was, I didn't never understood that. Nothing against Pharrell Payne and Solo. I still don't understand, I still never understand those type things. Nick Starkel was transferred. I love Nick Starkel. He was transferring to Arkansas and had already announced it and was finishing up school and going to work out in Needham State or in the Bright weight room. I would never allow that. Mm-hmm. So when Bucky McMillan got here, he saw 3 basketball players, and 2 of them were in here working out on their own and getting treatment as they were preparing to leave and follow the old coach to Maryland. So that's the situation he walked into, and yet they somehow matched that conference record, and they're going to the NCAA tournament. And by the way, that's the book on season 1 is not closed yet either.
Nope.
Just remember that. So TBD.
Yep. And we'll chat with Bucky McMillan here on the other side as we hit a break here on TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here on a Monday morning. Luke Evangelist. Yeah, you're a big Creedence Clearwater Revival guy. Luke Evangelist, TexAgs basketball analyst, joining Billy Liucci and myself inside the Rollo Insured studio. Now we go out to the...
Did you not hear? Is he on? He said the call might have dropped.
Nick gave me a head nod.
Perfect.
So we're going to go out to the Puppies Catering and Bartending Hotline and chat with Texas A&M head basketball coach Bucky McMillan. Coach, we get the now Nick's just hung up. Coach just hung
So
up.
you think Bucky and his crew, Luke? You think when they were like in Mountain Brook, Mountain Brook High School,
Nice shirt.
hanging out? You think they sat around and maybe had some time just, tearing through a few beers, listening to Creedence?
Probably.
I feel like that would be some good times in Mountain Brook. And the reason I say that is, as Luke is here with the Mountain Brook Spartan T-shirt.
I think Coach is on the phone line with us.
I'll start us off.
Okay,
then.
go ahead,
Bucky. Coach, do you know what Luke wore in here today that just shocked me because I don't have one?
Did he wear his mustache?
Well, yeah, that too. But no, it's a nice black and gold Mountain Brook Spartan T-shirt.
That baby. Hey, listen, if playoff time, we didn't lose any playoff games in Mountain Brook ever. So when it's tournament time, pull that baby out. I got good memories of that.
There you go.
Well, Coach, the SEC tournament's here. You guys are traveling to Nashville later this week. But looking back on the weekend that was, triple overtime, but you got the job done. Now, how are we feeling here on a Monday morning after a thriller on Saturday?
I felt great. I mean, we knew it would be a close game. I mean, that's predicted to be a close game. LSU's been good this year. I mean, they played a lot of these teams really close coming into non-conference. Out of non-conference play, they had a good team. They've been there with just about everybody. They just hadn't been able to pull it out. They got good players, so we knew it would be tough. And, their last game, they were playing free and played one of their better games. It's good to beat a team in the league that plays one of their better games on the road. I know their in-league record wasn't great, but, I mean, neither was Oklahoma's a little bit ago. Now they've rolled off several in a row. So it was a great win, and it was an important one. I'll say it like this. I got to be careful what I say because I dang sure never want to say anything that some NCAA tournament committee member hears out there. But I thought we were in a good spot regardless. But, man, after getting that done, I feel we can go to Nashville without the weight of the world on our shoulders. And that doesn't change anything what we do. It just makes it, our guys, hey, we put ourselves in a great position here. Let's go up here to Nashville. And let's play without that weight of the world on our shoulders because I felt like we've had it here for a couple weeks, and let's play loose and let's let it rip.
I want to come back to the LSU and kind of the contrast in what y'all faced Tuesday night at home against Kentucky, a team that was, solidly in the field, and it's Big Blue Nation, and they brought fans, and Reed Arena was rocking. And then you go to Baton Rouge. It's something I always am fascinated by in these sports towards the end of a season, end of a conference schedule. You were playing a team, like you said, with nothing to lose and just to kind of let it all hang out and just play free. You guys had, like you mentioned, the weight of the world almost. You're trying to get into the dance. And to go into kind of an arena on spring break started and compared to where y'all had been playing, is that particularly difficult as a coach, as players, to go in and go from some of the games y'all been playing in terms of atmosphere-wise to that on the road at the end?
Yeah, good question. There was a lot of times, I think that really helped our guys focus. Even though we didn't start great, our guys played really hard in the game. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times you'll get to that. I've always felt it is harder to travel later in the season than earlier. You're just so amped to play early in the season that if you got early season road games, I mean, you're just so excited to be playing. You don't care. Later in the season, it's hard to go on the road.
Yeah. Hey, so
wearing on you. and then you on that road. Now, I'm sure it wasn't easy for Kentucky to come here, right? And so unless it's a rivalry type game or a game that has this massive significance, that's really when you're a coach, when you're worried about your team. Well, they woke up, it was rainy outside, and it was early morning shoot around. That's kind of when you worry about your team, where you got to be so hard on them to get them going.
Mm-hmm.
That's never going to happen in an NCAA tournament game. They're so amped to play. Well, that didn't happen last game. They knew what it was because we had so many seniors, and Rylan Griffin and Rashawn were such great leaders, and Pop, they really were really good leaders before that game. Just like you could sense like the not be denied look in their eyes. Now I say that we came out there and we couldn't even make a layup or three,
denied early, not late.
Yeah, I know. But go watch our guys battled, and that was great to see them come out of there with it.
Well, and speaking of battling, and you mentioned it, against Kentucky, I'm going back a few days now, and just think the score was maybe 30-18,
Mm-hmm.
and you could feel like almost like, man, they just, if something can just get them past the tightness here and the pressure, and then you guys got hot from three, and it was Ruben, and then it was Rylan, and then it was Zach. But from that moment on, not just like, it seems like Rylan Griffin has been, I don't know the number of points per minute here, because I got to factor in 3 overtimes and from whatever point that was. But he's really been on an offensive, really not just offense, but an absolute heater since that moment. When he's going like that, this basketball team seems like you guys can achieve most anything.
Rylan's been incredible. That's one of the better games I've seen anyone play all season. Last game on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, blocking shots, rebounds, loose balls, threes, rack. He just really had it going. I think Rylan really learned it. He's somebody that you got to coach and tell him he can't do something well, and he's going to prove you wrong. It kind of uses that motivation the best. Like, a lot of players, most players are, hey, man, here's who you got. You're going to lock him up, right? Rylan's more of a guy that, here's who you got, Rylan. He's about to kill you. He's about to go by you every time. And I don't think you can score on him because when this guy guarded you didn't do it. I think it's going to be the same. And so I'll get you guys, you get ready to roll, you're going to run. He's got to be able to get it done. And I've learned that about Rylan.
That works.
You do that, Rylan's like, all right, I'm about to get 25 tonight. So I told Rylan a couple of days before the game, I said, all right, man, I know how to motivate you now.
Coach, I want to ask about Marcus and Ruben. They didn't score at all until that overtime, but they had probably 2 of the biggest plays in that overtime with Marcus's and 1, and then Ruben hitting that 3. Can you talk about them staying locked in for the entirety of the game, and then when you needed them most, they came through?
That's so hard to come off the bench and do that. Like when not playing as much those past 10, 12 minutes and to have key shots. Our guys were pretty tired, as you would expect to be a 3 overtime game, and we had to have somebody rack it and get to the basket. We put Marcus in, and we called the play as an isolation for him. And we go isolation for him with your game, with not just the game on the line, but other implications involved too with that game. Mm-hmm. And we called it right in the timeout. Marcus, get in. We're going to run. I'm not going to say it on the air, but name of this play. And it's going to be an isolation for you. And he's just shaking his head like, I want that. And Aaron got in one, a huge one. And then Ruben went in there and he had a 3 he could have gone off. I was going, shot, and he didn't get it off, and they threw it right back to him. He takes probably an even more difficult shot, that step back 3, and makes it, cashes it. But what a week for him. You saw 2 different games. You saw the Kentucky game where he couldn't miss, and you saw that game where he comes out and couldn't make, but yet he had the confidence to step up and make that big shot in the corner. That was huge. And then obviously Rashawn Aggie, Rashawn Aggie's in the gym more than anybody. He shoots more 3-point shots in the gym by himself than anybody with a GA. I just had this weird feeling when he was throwing that ball back to him. He's open at the top. it's so fitting for that game and what the implications were for him to cash those threes up there.
Yeah.
For him, that's kind of why you're in the gym. And for him to get up there to the line and make those free throws, during that game, just kind of fitting. And that's usually how it works in a season. Like, you can be in the gym all season and, man, is it paying off? Is it paying off? And then when you look at it at the end, you're like, I see why I was in there. And so I was glad to see him play so well, too.
Coach, best of luck in Nashville and beyond. And, of course, thanks for taking a few minutes to make some time for us this morning.
All right, boys.
Thanks, Coach.
That's Coach. Texas A&M head men's basketball coach Bucky McMillan on the Buppies Catering and Bartending Hotline. Luke, thanks so much for taking some time. Nice shirt. And Billy Liucci and I will close this edition of TexAgs Live on the other side. Welcome back in. Final segment of a Monday edition of TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Richard Zane, Billy Liucci inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. And Billy, we talked basketball for a lot of this hour, but baseball, another 4-0 week. Conference play begins this week after a Tuesday midweek. Can you turn your mic on, please? A&M currently 14-1 ahead of Tuesday's game against SFA.
Yeah, you'd love to see this team go into league play, sitting at 15-1, going up to Norman here for OU's been.
They're currently ranked 9th in the country.
Yeah, they've been really good the last few years, going back. I think they've maybe had one down year in between, but going back to the year that they They beat A&M twice in Omaha, going back to that year. Maybe kept A&M from winning a national title. If you really wanted to ask the coaching staff, you could probably ask Mike Earley and, Nolan Kane, Slosh, whoever was coaching back then, Yeski. I think they felt really good about that best of 3 against Ole Miss had they gotten there. So OU been a nice program under Johnson he's been there a while, but they've really, the last few years have been good. 9th top 10 team in the country again. If you can go up there and play well, it's going to be a real litmus test, much more so than UCLA was. I get it, UCLA jumped all over Moss in that first and second inning, but this is the litmus test. You're going on the road in the SEC, you're playing a top 10 team. These are the kind of series you're going to have to just figure out a way to come home victorious from. And if you can do that early, Series 1 is not the be-all, end-all.
Yep.
But damn, after the way, what'd they start last year? 1-9 in conference?
Yep.
The way they started last year and the hole they dug themselves in, if you can go on the road and get 2 or 3 from a top 10 team they're not an anomaly, they've been there, they've done that, it'd be really impressive. And again, if they win tomorrow night and they go 15-1, that's so much different than what we saw from this team in the non-conference last year.
We'll catch you tomorrow on TexAgs Live at 8 a.m.